So, this seminar is entitled The Art of Questioning. So, I would like to both throw some ideas in, some feedback, and do some exercise as we go along to both, to show two things, or three. One, which is, what are questions? The second thing, what do they produce? But the third thing, and you're going to start thinking that there's something perverse about it, but the most fascinating thing about questions is the resistance they provoke. Right? Now, of course, I'm going to ask you, because for some of you that might not seem a very nice thing, it might seem to not thinking positively. I say this because, for example, when I go to the US or some other places, it's very important to think positively. You know? Let's be positive. And even invented a concept which I find wonderful. It's called positive criticism. You know, which is interesting because we can find it funny, but I think it reflects on something. You see, pragmatism has evolved as a reaction against idealist continental philosophy, with the primary target probably being Hegel. Hegel is sort of the enemy, you know, the guy to go against for different reasons. And I don't want to take part in this. I mean, I think some criticism is legitimate. The hyper-idealism that this can represent, and even in the continental philosophy, some people have criticized Hegel, be it Kierkegaard from the existentialist standpoint, being Marx from a political standpoint, you know, so it's not forbidden, you know, Hegel is not an idol. But at the same time, of course, some, maybe in some aspect, I think, throwing the baby with the bathwater. But that's always the case when there's a debate. It's hard to have a debate, you know, a discussion, you know, an issue without throwing the baby with the bathwater. And I want to bring up a bit this one thing that can be an issue, because we have seen at this conference, some people say, okay, I'm a pragmatist philosopher, you know. And there's one thing which I find a bit regrettable, which I want to bring up, because that has to do with the, I say, the interest in pathology. I call it pathology. Why do we resist questioning? And it's a concept of Hegel, which, by the way, let me ask you, who here has studied philosophy, so I know? Raise your hand. Okay, so half the people have not. So I'll try to, sorry for the ones if I say things you know already, but so people who have not studied philosophy, you know, can be clear on some of the tools. And by the way, don't hesitate. If I say something you don't know, you want to ask a question or clarification, don't hesitate. But there's a concept, very important idea of Hegel, which is called negativity. The work of negativity. Negativity is a work. Now, what does that mean? Well, for him, it means that we have ideas, and these ideas we try to clarify them. And he calls it identification. You can call it to deepen. So when we have an idea, we want to go deeper. Why? You know, what is the reason behind this idea? One analyzes it, right? And as for him, that's the first moment of thought. What do we have here? You know, what do we call this? What is it? You know, why is it there? But then comes the second moment, because he has this concept of moments. There's moments in thinking. You know, it's a structure. There's a structure. And the second moment is the work of negativity. It's called criticism. And criticism, by definition, is work of negativity. It means to examine what is false about the first idea. What are its limitations? You know? Where is it that it's not true anymore? You know, when I say today's Wednesday, well, today's Monday. Today's Monday. It is true. I mean, unless somebody wants to say it's not Monday. But it is true, for example, only until midnight. Therefore, I have to stop saying it. It won't be true anymore. Okay? Now, the problem is when I say this kind of thing, I'm trying to ask you to be careful because say, oh, it's just a trick. No, it's not a trick. It's how we affirm things. But we'll come back to it later on. The point is that any truth, any opinion, any idea we affirm, the postulate of the work of negativity, that there's always some kind of determination, some kind of limit, some kind of finitude to this assertion, what we're saying. So the job of criticism, the work of negativity, is to examine the limits of this idea. And he calls that the A is not A. The first part was A is A. I have to know what is A. Now A is not A. And the postulate of this work of negativity is that everything is what it is not. I don't know if that's clear or strange, but everything is what it is not. And we say this to someone. I don't recognize him. Yes, I don't recognize this person. Or what is the limit? And sometimes it's very difficult to say. Let me give you just a fun example of this. What is a heap of sand? What is a heap of sand? And how many grains? Let's say you have a heap. You say, okay, I have a heap. Take a heap. Take away, it's a slow process, so be patient. But take away the grains one by one. One by one. What if it stopped being a heap? At 273 grains.
When it becomes a pile.
When it becomes a pile. Oh, that's very nice, okay? That's a Australian distinction, I like that. It's not how it becomes a pile, okay? But in how many, right? You know, so when is, you know, what is the limit of a heap conception, right? Well, from already its definition, you know, what composes a heap, right? So that's just, you know, right? When is a death start? When does death start? You know, does it start at the moment you fall sick, you catch your terminal cancer? Does it start at the moment you turn 40 and you start looking back? Or does it start when you're born? Or even before you're born? Or at your conception? Or even before the conception, depending on how you view, you know, what is human being, right? Is the fact that already you start being alive, you know, the fact that you started to die. Anyway, just to show you how things, that's called to problem attack as well, right? So anyway, the idea of such a work of negativity, it is something is always what it is not. Now, of course, just to show you that's where pragmatists, Peirce and all this say, hey, what are you doing there? Do you think that's practical, this kind of stuff? Do you think we're going to get somewhere with this kind of stuff, you know? What do you think we're going to accomplish with this, right? And in a certain way, probably it's right. You know, if you start, I saw today, I was looking at the internet, I saw that there's a rugby, rugby world championship. I know here in Melbourne, that's not your thing, apparently you have to go to Sydney for that, but anyway, you know rugby, right? And imagine, I was thinking you guys saw this, you know, if you see the Monty Python thing, but imagine somebody wants to do this entering the football field, a rugby field, to say, oh, is this a ball? You know? What determines a field is a field? When does start the end of the field starting? Is it starting at the beginning of the line, or at the end of the line, or the middle of the line? Yes? When is the end of the field, right? Very interesting questions. But to play football, it's not exactly practical. You know, if you start doing this, you're not playing football anymore, right? That's why if people just watch, you find on the internet the Monty Python. There was the German philosopher versus the Greek philosopher. It's very funny. There's no ball. Where's it? There's no ball, of course. You know? It's concept, right? And that's where, of course, you can laugh. And that's what some people did, by the way, laughing at the Neo-Hegelians like Marx, and others laughing at the Neo-Hegelians by saying, look, you're throwing you're drowning in a bucket of water, you know, and you can do this, right? And that's the debate between what you can call an idea. Well, philosophy is something like in a pragmatic concept because we have to solve problems. You know, for people there, we had a little discussion short with Clint. Okay, solving problem, you know, was, let me just finish that now. Solving problem seems to be like a final step or the sort of a goal for philosophical inquiry, for philosophical discussion, for philosophical reflection. Or is it, you know, on the contrary, to identify problems, to go deeper into problems, to produce concept, which might solve or might not solve, right? So now I don't want to bring you into any church here of problems are good, problems bad, but just to have you live a bit this tension, you know, of what is the issue between a pragmatic, goal-oriented conception of philosophy and philosophy, where already the work of negativity is something interesting. Although even in Hegel, well, maybe I'll let you first raise your issue and I'll finish this. Yeah.
when we have Socrates as a goalkeeper and Hegel going for a goal, it's funny because we've put the whole thing into like a pragmatist context. But when we do it the other way around and we have the philosophers and the idealists and we bring pragmatism into that context, then it's not so funny, it's serious. Because the questions for these philosophers is, why is it that we want to have practical outcomes? Why is it that we want to have goals? So, you know, like you can throw your hands up, you know, as a pragmatist and say it's a waste of time, you know, and you can laugh at them. But it's like, why is it a waste of time? What is it that we, why is it that we want to have these jobs?
So, yeah, so, and of course, depending on your own, how can you say that, your own sensibility, you know, your own inclinations, you will opt toward one and the others. Now, my job here today is not to either convert you to pragmatism or to continental philosophy, but to show you the different tools. I think we have different tools, different conception, and it doesn't matter what with things like, you know, you might have your idea what the purpose of life is, but when you want to do structure of philosophical discussion, I mean, you're not there to, you know, to sort of impose willy-nilly your vision of life. You want there, so I would like you to see these as putting into perspective to see what tools we have. In a certain way, solving a problem can be a task in a discussion, but to problematize can be another task without worrying if you're going to solve anything or not, right? So, you know, so today I will invite you often to maybe on a work of negativity, because probably a cultural thing where more naturally people want solution. You know, your English culture, to go quickly, is a culture where there's no problem, there's only solutions, sort of thing, to caricature a little bit, you know. But I want to invite you to love problems for themselves, you know, the beauty of problems. But of course, in no way I want to negate, you know, the interest of trying to solve problems. Like, it's just one tool, but as well to like the problem for itself. And I say this because I was in Bulgaria. I worked in many countries, and I was in Bulgaria. That's this funny thing. You know, I go to the classroom and I say, okay, we have a nice problem here. I call it a juicy problem, a nice problem. Hey, this is good. And of course, the kids look at me funny when I say this, you know. And then the teacher was following me, different classroom, and invited me. After 3 classrooms, I kept saying this thing. She looked at me and said, Oscar, I have to explain to you one thing, she said. See, she said, here in Bulgaria, we don't like problems. I said, well, don't worry, you know, that's probably the proof that you're human beings. Human beings, you know, do not like problems. In fact, it's a philosopher's thing to like problems, you know, and that's why philosophers are not exactly useful, you know, as the servant of Thales, you know, the famous story of the servants of Thales, that, you know, Thales was this Greek astronomer, mathematician, and philosopher, looking at the sky all the time, and he fell in the well, you know, he fell in the well. And there's this famous story of his servant, a woman servant, laughing at him. Now the question is, you know, is she right to laugh, or is she not right to laugh? You know? Okay, you think she is right? Okay,
I think it's funny anyway.
Of course it's funny. And that's a very interesting question. Now, for some philosophers, it's obvious this woman is stupid, right? She's a servant, you know, and she doesn't understand how deep and profound that was. But on the other side, they say, well, the poor guy, you know, I mean, one thing is to look at the sky, but he has feet as well. He can think about his feet, you know, and the earth has as well a purpose. You know, you don't only have the celestial, as well, ground, you know. So anyway, so there's an interesting debate, you know, between Thales, you know, it's not a discussion, but it's a positioning discussion with Thales and his servant. You know, one has she would be more a pragmatist philosopher, this woman. And that's a bit the thing as well you had in this Nasruddin story. But you encounter this all the time. Take it for the people who like literature, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, right? That's the same thing, you know, same debate. It's a constant debate you have, you know, in the history between, you know, this dualism, this between the earth. You find it in Chinese philosophy, you know, between the sky, you know, celestial and the earth. It's you find this dualism all the time, right? So that's why I find interesting, I'm not taking side, but interesting, this double perspective between pragmatism, we want to solve problems, and this idea that, well, let's examine problems, contemplate problems, contemplate them for the beauty of it, yes? And to conclude a bit on this, Lily referred to this famous couple of Plato, which is called the philosopher king. Now, often the philosopher king, people look at it from the standpoint, more the political standpoint, because Plato raised the idea, can kings be philosopher or philosophers be king? But I want to bring here the sort of epistemological aspect of it, because for Plato, the philosopher and the king, in each one of us, it's two different functions. Right? The king is a politician, not politician in the sense of the guy that's trying to swindle you in a connotation, but the governor, the one that's he takes decisions. Say, that's the way it is. That's the law. You do this like this and not like that. It's called taking decisions, right? And we all have in ourselves this governor, when it decides, king, president. And on the other side, you have this other function, the function of the philosopher. And what does a philosopher do? He problematizes. He says, well, but there's this problem and that problem. So, and of course, when you want to do something, you're supposed to have both these functions. If you decide without evaluating different sides, well, that'll be a problem. You just decide without reason. On the other side, you have some people that function other ways. They always have every reason to do things and not to do them, right? So it's interesting because we all have this tension in ourselves between, wondering, thinking, evaluating, and making decision. And these two things, in a certain way, we need both of them, but it's a way they don't go together. And in fact, sometimes we have a hard time taking the decision because we think a lot about things. And sometimes it's the reverse. We take decisions, we didn't take the time to think and say, oh my God, I should have thought about it twice, right? So that's a bit something outer, again, to show you the different ways. So the work of negativity is a moment for Hegel in the thinking where we have to evaluate, different perspective and enjoy. But see, you have to enjoy the problems for themselves, because if you don't do this, you're going to want to rush to the cure. You'll see the problem as a disease, and you want to get cured. And how do you get cured? By finding a solution, by answering. Yes? And that's what happens a lot. We have a question. We don't want to enjoy the question. We want the answer. And that's a very important thing in terms of the art of questioning. See, if we like answers primarily, in a certain way we won't like the art of questioning. We will like the art of answering. You see? And the art of questioning is to enjoy a beautiful question for its sake, as a work of art, from an aesthetic standpoint. And now, to show, for example, the problems can be positive pragmatism, I would say a good question is a question that is precisely hard to answer, even though impossible to answer. Yeah? Who are you? That's one of the best questions in the world. Who are you? But I challenge any one of you to answer this question. I challenge any one of you to be able to give some kind of definite answer to who are you. Yes?
Not you.
Is that a question?
No, there was an answer.
Oh, you want to answer?
Yeah.
Who are you? Not you.
Yeah.
Okay, you happy about this one?
For now.
For now. Okay. Why not? But see, but the point is that it's a funny one, interesting. Not you. Who are you? Not you. That's not bad. Yes, you're Hegelian. It's like the moment. Yes, you're not that. But then we have to examine what it allows you. And for example, if there's a nice woman who's usually say, "Who are you?" and she says, "Not you." Okay, she might run away. So there's moments for everything. If a policeman says, "Who are you?" "Not you," he's going to find you insulting a representative of law and order. So what I mean by this, so of course. And the idea is that an answer, philosophy can be interesting, but the servant of Thales is going to laugh at you for that one. This guy's weird. Okay, so anyway, so the idea that answers then have to be viewed as conjectures. Is a beautiful author, a philosopher. For me, it's been an inspiration, which I used when I did my doctoral work, called Nicholas of Cusa. I don't know how much he's known. Is he known in Australia or no? He was a cardinal, so Catholic philosopher from the 15th century. He was one of the people trying to organize the Council of Florence to reunite Eastern and Western Church. It was the last attempt. He writes very beautiful texts. I like him. He writes books about one of his heroes, an idiot. He has idiota de mente, the idiot about the mind. He's an idiot, like Socrates. You have to be an idiot. You have to think. You have to be idiotic. So, in fact, today you'll see, I'll invite you to be idiotic. I hope nobody will insult it, but I think idiot is a good way. The Chinese have this too, by the way. The wise man has no ideas. So anyway, so that's not very. There again, that doesn't go with a pragmatic thing. As a pragmatic perspective, you have to have an idea to solve the problem. No idea, you don't solve anything, right? So anyway, so the idea that you have conjectures, and conjectures mean that they're useful for in a given context, for a given moment, but they're not in any way any kind of absolute thing. Although you do have this as well in pragmatic philosophy, because in the history of science is nothing but that. You know, as Popper tells us, right, that any principle is useful for a certain time until we found that it's limited, that it's false in a certain way, and then science comes up with a new principle, right? Except the way to justify it is different. You know, it's that it functions. It always functions better. Yeah? So the idea then, to come back to this questioning, it's interesting for me to watch people who do philosophy workshop from a pragmatic perspective. There's a sort of, I'm going to use a terrible way to say it. There is a respect for the people around. Each one is very respectful. Each one has his idea. And we respect everyone, and we'll bring something, contribute, and we construct something together. Well, I don't know how weird it's going to sound, but in a certain way, in a Hegelian perspective, there's no respect. There's no respect. Because what we're interested in when we hear something right away is the work of negativity. In other words, we're interested in to see what is false about what somebody's saying. And then of course you can say, well, there's another kind of respect, whatever. But it's in a way, initially there's no respect. Why I say there's no respect? Because often it's lived this way, right? You know, for example, I'm in a classroom and somebody says something, right? And I say, okay, who sees a problem in what John has says? Who sees a problem? So little Mary raised her hand. So okay, Mary, what's wrong? And Mary starts saying what she sees as wrong in what John has said. And John right away, he wants to respond. He said, John, what's going on? Why you do this? Mary is your best friend right now. As Nietzsche says, your friend is your enemy. Yes? She's the one now being so interested in you that she's going to show what she thinks is wrong. So you want to listen to her. Yes? But why does he want to respond? Why does he doesn't want to let her finish? Because he wants to preserve his idea. He wants to defend his position. He wants to be respected. Yeah? In a funny way. So I'm trying to problematize the concept of respect here. Eh? And of course, it's true. At the same time, it's interesting. I say this because, see, I come from a country, France, where as a national sport, we criticize. Because that's our national sport. Then again, to quote the famous philosopher comics, the Monty Python, you know, the story where they show the French holding a fort and people come by and just throw insults, cows, that's our national sport, yes? But then when I go to Norway or to the US, you know, you don't do such a thing. You're supposed to be very polite, very nice, you're sharing, and you share, thank you for sharing, you know, the thank you for sharing, you do this here, thank you for sharing, very, you know, Anglo thing, yeah, thank you for sharing. We don't go much for the thank you for sharing. We share insults, you know. So it's different culture, right?
It's very poor, I think.
What? Thank you for sharing?
Yeah.
I mean, all over the world?
US.
Oh, you
subjecting us to this stuff.
Yeah. Well, England is probably even, right? I don't want to start war. So, yeah.
Going back to Roger's point, that Margaret Thatcher took over the political leadership of England.
Yeah.
She told universities to drop philosophy and especially new sociology.
Yeah.
The same reason that is neither here nor there. I think philosophy has got a bad name for itself.
Right.
Because it's just mumbling all over the place.
Yeah.
And coming to know a particular solution, whether the solution is right or wrong doesn't matter, but some kind of solution.
Right.
Isn't that a problem? Because when you bring that to schools now,
yes.
philosophy for schools, you cannot bring all that together with us
all right.
in the classroom.
Let me start a little exercise here. Typical, see, it doesn't have to be structured all in advance. Dr. Ho said something. He threw an idea, right? Now, I'm ignorant. I don't know what he wants to tell me. So I'll do the following. Who understands the point he's trying to make? Raise your hand. Keep your hand up for a minute, so for the slow people have time to raise their hand if they want. And keep your hand up. Okay. See, just keep your hand up. Don't say anything. Don't say. I'll show you a little procedure. Keep your hand up. Don't worry. You can hold with the other one if you get tired. It won't be long. The reason it's very important is to leave time for the ones who are slow undecided to raise their hand. See? So don't move until I tell you. Now, you see what's happening already. Sort of, you know, one half understand, one half does not. And that's always happens, right? So this is what we're going to do, a little procedure. Oh, just put your hand up. Don't worry, it's tiring. You can't even go to the table. We do gymnastics at the same time, you see? So, anyways, but he's going to do the following thing. He's going to go towards somebody raising his hand. He's going to say, can you tell people what is the point I'm trying to make? Please, ask one of the people.
Maybe it's Peter. Do that.
But ask him, what is the point I'm trying to make?
What's the point I'm trying to make?
Okay, so wait, I'm showing the procedure at the same time. Everybody else put his hand down, okay? Peter is going to speak, listen well, and then we'll examine critical thinking. If you think, for the people who know, is he getting the point or no of Dr. Ho? Peter, what is the point of Dr. Ho? Go ahead.
That school authorities don't like the idea of philosophy because it apparently has no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
And doesn't have an outcome as such.
All right. Stop here. Now, first of all, your judgment. Is that the point you want to make or no?
Quite close. What I had in mind.
Okay. Now I'm going to do something terrible. See? You won't be neither quite close, no partially, no sort of, no kind of, no yeah. But do I take this synthesis of Peter or do I don't take it?
I think Peter.
No. See, it's terrible what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, did Peter get the essential thing out in the synthesis?
So I describe that as reductionist.
No, wait, no. You don't listen. See, I tell you. Okay. There I get into the art of questioning. Let me make a little parenthesis to come back to this. That's the point. You see? The art of questioning is like brain surgery or heart surgery. It's very precise. And I notice that often teachers are not clear on what the statute of a question is. And how do you know this? Is by what kind of answer they get. For example, you have why, when, who, where. If I say who, and somebody starts by because, I think stop now, finished, right? Now, for people who train teachers or do that, try it, you'll see it's terrible. We are not clear, we're not precise, right? So, for example, what am I doing now? I'm asking something terrible. I'm asking, for example, affirmation or refusal, yes or no. So that means it cannot start with because, it cannot start with Peter, it cannot start with when, it cannot start with if. And of course, we all want to express ourselves. I'm like you, I'd like to say. But at the moment where there's questioning, there's what's called a constraint. A constraint is painful. We don't like constraint. We like to be free. But it's a game, like football. The line stops here. There's a constraint. And what I would like, I hope, is to, for the ones for whom it's a problem, to reconcile you with the idea of constraint. Because you see, when you play tennis, if it was not a constraint of the limits of the field, it would be tennis, it'd be a crazy game. You know, you send the ball 1 kilometer away, and, you know. So the constraint, like in chess, constraint, you only play in this fashion. Initially, we don't want constraint. Oh, it's complicated. A horse goes this way, you know, I don't know, the pieces, the crazy guy, what do you call it? The oblique? What do you call the oblique one? Bishop goes oblique. We call him the crazy one in French, right? It's funny. You know? Yeah, he's oblique, right? Anyway. So, but the constraints, so in other words, so now today I will do a lot of it, but at other times we'll see. I ask people to do it. So the idea we examine if a question and answer. So there, see again, that's why I'm so terrible. Just a very specific question. The specific question is the following. Peter has proposed to synthesize what you have said. The question is, as Aristotle says, we have to distinguish between the essential and the accidental. That's what's at, now if I tell children, I maybe won't explain that. But that's what's at stake here, you see? Did Peter get the essential or not? Now, Peter was not supposed to repeat every detail. Peter was not supposed to explain. Peter was supposed to give a synthesis, and the synthesis is one way to clarify. That's the reason I asked him to do this. And in fact, I just wanted one sentence to summarize, so to see what is the essential thing. So either Peter has forgotten something major, and therefore we don't accept it. Either Peter has betrayed your intention, and we don't accept it. But if the essential is there, we say, Peter, I take it. You say, I want to know. Nothing else. And it's frustrating. So I'm going to invite you not only to live with this frustration, but to enjoy it. To enjoy frustration. Is that okay with you?
Thank you, Oscar. I think I'm seeing the light now.
Hallelujah. Okay. So, okay. So, do you hereby, Dr. Ho,
Yeah.
yes or no, accept the synthesis of Peter?
Yes.
Tell him you'll be happy.
Thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Can go home now.
Okay. Okay. But of course, for a teacher, it's terrible. You know. But let me give you an example how you can use this in the classroom. You have done a class. You have done an exercise, and then you tell all the kids, "Okay, everybody, take a paper and a pen, and all of you will write in one sentence what is the essential point I try to make in this session or in this course, in this time." And they all write it. And then you can do a fun thing. You can take 3 minutes and everybody reads his sentence. First of all, for you it's interesting because you know what people have gotten out of it. Second thing, if there are problems, you will pick them up quickly. Thirdly, you make the students active because they never know we're going to do that. Any minute you can say, okay, I stop, we stop, now everybody takes a pen and paper, we do this. So that keeps them alive, right? So it's a very interesting interactive thing. And then if you ask to do it orally, only one does it, but everybody writes. Now, if there are too many students, no time, you don't have to take everybody. You can take 5. But people don't know who it's going to be. So they all have. So that keeps students active all the time. You know, that's okay. So, and then it's interesting. You can take one. Let's say you could have, let's say there was a class. Peter does that. And right on the board, the sentence of Peter, I say, okay, class, who thinks Peter got the point of the class? Raise your hand. Who thinks Peter didn't get the point of the class? Raise your hand. Peter, some of these people say you didn't get the point of the class. Ask them why. And then you go through what happened. So what I mean by this, it doesn't have to be, okay, let's have now the philosophy session. You can do this at any moment. Yesterday somebody was saying how it should not be just reserved to a session, but you use this and people get good practice, right? So it can come anytime. And that's the advantage of not having the reserved session for philosophy or whatever. Thinking should be taking place at any time. Anyway. So, anyway, so you accept Peter's summary. Now, I'll do what I said. Did somebody think Peter didn't get right the idea of Dr. Howell? Somebody, raise your hand. Just raise your hand. We wait. I always wait a bit to see how many people think that's the case. 2 people, no more, 4. Okay, so just keep your hand up. I'm sorry to ask you to do this physical exercise, but so the slow people get a chance to do it too, and the others we know. We have 5, no more, so just don't move. Peter, ask someone, it's 5 people, and say, why do you think it was wrong?
Yeah. Sorry, I can't see it. Theo.
But you have to ask him.
Yeah. Why do you think it was wrong?
I didn't go far enough. I think it's the...
What? Just stop there. You see, I like to stop there. It's enormous. Just repeat what you have said.
It didn't go far enough.
Okay. You didn't go far enough. Now, let me ask you one thing to clarify the accusation. Do you remember he was supposed to make a synthetic summary? Do you remember this? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think this far enough means something else should have been said? You remember this? Now, this something else, do you think it was essential and still be part of a synthetic summary? Or this far enough would be, well, maybe it's nice, but it would be like overburdening the task he had to do. I'm asking to make a judgment. Do you think he could have included this extra thing and still be synthetic, be essential? Or he would have made the thing too heavy to be synthesis? Do you see the problem I'm asking? Yes? What is your judgment then? He should have said it or no?
He should have said it.
He should have, right? So you make Okay? So now what I'm doing here is just to clarify, because you get a lot of this. Well, he should have said something else, but would he be fulfilling the contract if he had, for example, 10 things, you know? Okay? So you think he could have added this thing, okay? All right? So that's interesting. What we're going to do now, you're going to say, of course, imagine it's going to be a short thing. Yes, no?
Sure.
What you want to add is going to be rather short.
Yeah, 1 hour to do that.
Okay, wait. What's your name?
Theo.
Theo. So Theo will say, hey, Peter omitted something important. He should have said, right? And we'll see, all right, did indeed Peter omit something important? In other words, is the criticism right or wrong? We'll decide what we think. What did he omit? Go ahead.
You omitted the word practical.
Okay. Do you agree with that? You omitted the word practical. In other words, that first of all.
Well, no, hang on.
Yeah.
Did I admit the word practical? Yes.
Okay, you didn't say it, okay?
I didn't say the word practical.
Okay, now, let me ask you 2 or 3 questions I can help clarify. Should it have been said, you think, or no?
No.
No, it's not necessary. Is it necessary or not to say it? Was it necessary or no? To say
No.
it? No. So you say, I didn't say it. The fact you recognize. It's important because we have to say, like in the court, the fact and the consequences. So the fact you recognize, you didn't say this word.
No, I didn't.
And you think it was not necessary.
No.
Right? We good? Okay. So just now you're going to finish. Now we know where your stand is. Say why it was not necessary to say the word practical. Go ahead.
Because I said the word outcome.
You said the word outcome. Therefore, what are you telling us?
That outcome is like means practical.
Okay. Do you see the beautiful problem we have? Sent to all of you. And that's, by the way, classical format. Now, don't think too much. I'm going to ask you something hard, I know, but don't think too much about the content. Think about the form this is taking, right? There's typicalization. You didn't say this word. Now he's saying, yeah, I didn't say this word, but I said this one. Now we're invited to do conceptual difference here. We have 2 words, you see. We have, let me write it, so you have it in your head. We have outcome and practical. Now, all attention, that's what I call conceptualization. By the way, in Hegel, this is a 3rd moment. You know, I told you the first moment is to identify, you know, to identify a problem, to identify an idea, what you can say. 2nd moment is to problematize. The 3rd moment is the conceptualization moment. Why? Because when you have a problem, it obliges you to produce concepts. And you find this periodically, Deleuze, French philosopher, philosophizing is the art of producing concepts. Producing concepts. Now it can be to invent the concept, but it can be as well to convoke a concept that the thing people know. These words outcome and practical, I imagine people know these words, but now they're being conceptualized. Why? Because these words are taken out of some anonymous dictionary and put in the forefront as tools that can be used to deal with a problem, right? So they're being conceptualized because concept is not just a word, it's a key word. It's a word suddenly that has a lot of tension on it, that's put in the forefront because it bears the brunt of a problem, of a given problem. Yes? So we have these 2 words. Yes?
The art of producing concepts, that was a French philosopher or Hegel?
No, I quoted Deleuze, who for him that's an essential aspect of philosophizing is to produce concept, right? But in Hegel, it's a 3rd moment of the dialectical process. The because what I described to you is a dialectical process, what he views as the process for thinking, identifying, problematizing, he calls it criticizing, and the 3rd moment, producing concepts. He says that's how you think. That's how thinking operates. Now it's dialectics. It's a general format of dialectics, right? Now, like it or like it doesn't matter because, for example, pragmatism is not dialectical. It functions differently. Why? Because dialectic is always a circular movement. You go back on the subject. Okay. When you say this, what are you thinking? By the way, we'll come back to this later. So it's just another way of thinking. You know, it's a circular. Pragmatism is more linear. It tends to produce things. It's not so concerned to come back. You know, but dialectical is circular. Anyway. So outcome and practical. Now all the pressure, the discussion, you see, that's the advantage. We're now clear in the discussion. It's not a speech, another speech. Very precise. What is the problem here? Can outcome replace practical? Right? Very simple. And that's why it's so important, by the way, to conceptualize. It's not just to make words, but it allows us to be clear on what the problem is. Right? Now with 2 words, boom, we know. Okay. Do you accept the idea that practical doesn't have to be said because outcome fulfill that function? You just say, do you accept that or no?
No.
No, you don't accept it. Dr. Ho, do you accept this or no?
No.
Neither. So you agree with, therefore, with Theo, that he should have said practical, Peter, and outcomes are sufficient.
That's a different stage.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, you're tricky here.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay, you start seeing the problem. Here in those stages, see, it's a very tense thing. Peter said something. First you say accept it. Theo says, what's going on? Yeah, got a problem? Say it. See, there's a rule we have here. We speak for everybody or nobody. So if you want to say something, just speak to everybody. But it's like football. We don't come with our ball on the side, you know? And I like the idea that we speak universally to 6 billion people. So that obliges you to think, well, is it important, interesting what I want to say, or it's just, you know, I want to blow my nose sort of thing? You know, not important. So, did you have something important to say?
We both.
No. We both nothing. Do you have something important to say?
Yes,
What do you mean? Oh, of course. Oh, I'm sorry to insult you. Okay, sorry. Okay. So, what did you say? And you know why it's important? Because you know, children, that oblige them to process in their mind: is it important? Is it interesting? Is it urgent? And Socrates, they call this the how do you call this in English? The sifters, you know? The sifters. Socrates' idea is the sifters. To say something, pass it through the first step. Is it true? Is it good? Is it useful? If it doesn't go through the sifters, sieve. Yeah, same word? Sieve? You don't say sifter? Sieve, okay. You pass it through the sieve. And if it doesn't pass the sieve, then you don't say it. And that's how you process what you think. You don't say, okay, I want to say it, you throw, right? You say, so pass it the sieve. So when I'm asking this funny question, is it important? And let's say it's 3. Was it important what you had to say or no?
Yeah.
Was it interesting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? I don't know. Yes, no? Okay. And was it urgent?
Yes. It was to do with.
No.
Yes.
Yes, so it's important, urgent, and interesting. Yes, no? Okay. We're going to listen to it, and we decide, the group will decide, tell you, yes, it was important, urgent, and interesting, or no, it was not urgent, important, interesting. Okay. What did you want to say? Go ahead.
I thought that what Peter said was only part of what was essential in Mr. Hall's statement. I think there was an extra value judgment that philosophy as such wasn't such a good thing for children because it didn't come to resolutions. I think that was problematic.
Okay.
And I thought that wasn't added in Theo's.
All right. And you thought this was important,
Yes.
interesting, and urgent, okay?
Yes,
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you, who agrees that it was both important, interesting, and urgent? Raise your hand. And count the hands up. Who think it was not? Raise your hand. Count the hands. How many?
8.
8.
Yeah.
You surprised at the results? Just tell me, you surprised or not surprised?
No.
You're not surprised. How come you're not surprised? You knew it before?
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I mean, the choice is, are you surprised or you knew it before?
Question is-
No, don't do this, don't do this. Are you no, this is not a yes or no question. This is called, you have to be careful with the question. Vanilla or chocolate is not a yes, no question. Huh? You have to be very careful. Vanilla chocolate is an alternative. Yes, no is you take or you don't take, right? Vanilla chocolate is another format. I said, for people who likes look at Plato, look at the sophists, Socrates says this all the time. A, B, A, B, A, B. Anytime you take a choice, then another A, B. It's like branching off. It's a very useful thing. Use a lot. So this is called vanilla chocolate. I call it vanilla chocolate for the children, yes? You can't say yes or no. You know, you say, oh, Oscar, you always ask yes or no question. No. Vanilla chocolate question is not yes/no question. White question is not the yes/no question. So that's a vanilla chocolate question. Were you surprised or you knew it before? I like the eyes you're making. Terrible what I'm doing to you, right? Thank you. Tell me, I love it. Okay, sorry.
Well, I have to say, I was either surprised or not.
Oh, what do you think?
What do I think? Why was it?
No. Well, look, you know, you have had children, right? You know this, the kids, you say vanilla or chocolate, right?
Yeah.
But they want caramel, you know? You know this?
Yeah.
Why did they do this? Why did they do this? Because it provokes, yeah. And who has started to say caramel all the time? And not vanilla or chocolate, right? Okay? Now, but see, I love that to show that the stuff that we criticize in children, you say, the kids, you know, we do the same, right? It's simple. I know it's a terrible question. It's like asking you, okay, you're condemned to death. You prefer hanging or getting your head cut off? Terrible question, yeah? You like that? No. Now let me ask you, do you like problems?
Yes.
Well, why don't you like this problem? You're going to get your head cut off through hanging or decapitation. Is that a beautiful problem? How am I going to die? Hang or decapitated? Is that a beautiful problem?
It's just simple. There should be more choices. So listen, do you like what is simple? If I listen to you, do you like what is simple? No, not really.
Thank you. Not really means no or yes?
No.
No. All right. And now we go back to Socrates. You have to be idiotic. You like that? No. Okay. Now, can you think as a goal in thinking to be idiotic or no? That's strange to you.
Yeah, it's strange.
Strange. You like strange things?
Yeah.
Are you showing you like strange things? Or are you showing you don't like them? If I look at the way you're responding. Thank you. Don't answer. That's to take home this one. Okay. All right. So let's go back to your business. 8 people said it was not urgent, interesting, and important. They rejected your claim. Are you surprised at that? Say, oh my God, what they say this? Oh yeah, I knew it before. So, what's the choice you're making? Or you're incapable of making that choice?
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? Did I tell you that a good question is a question the other one cannot answer? Remember this? You like that one then? Yeah. Okay. You see the problem with puzzle to say, did I know it before? Oh no, these people surprised me, you know? Let's say somebody hits me, right? Hits me. Why did he do this? I never did anything to him. But if just a day before I laughed at it, you know, in front of everybody, wow, I'm not surprised. Okay, I'm not happy about it, but okay, I could have expected it. You know what I mean? You know? So that obliges me to say, well, was that predictable? Or was that not predictable? You see, it's very heavy, the implication of choosing between I'm surprised and I could predict it. You know? You see, that's the interesting issue. You want to try it? Could you have predicted this? Or no, it was unpredictable. Oh, God, these people, they're surprising. What would you say? It's really, don't do this on this. Don't do this. Just enjoy the suspense. Okay? I know.
I think it was surprising, yes, surprising.
It's surprising. Tell it, you surprise me, people. Tell them that.
Surprise me, people.
All right. Yes, you're surprising. Because for you it was. So because you're surprising, you gain something. And I'll tell you what it is. These 8 people, please raise your hand. And keep it up. And you ask one of them, you have 8 people, or was one cheating and not raising his hand? Count. You have 8 again?
Aha, there was 8.
All right, there's one who says, okay, don't worry, but that happens.
We were equal.
Oh, no, well, don't worry, it was 6 together. So ask one of them, hey, why don't you accept my claim?
Why don't you accept my claim?
Now, who do you ask? Now you're gonna. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna structure this thing. Okay? You know, structure is important. There were 3 conditions for accepting. You're gonna say which is of the 3, 1, 2, or 3. Which one you say cannot qualify her statement. In other words, interesting, important, and urgent. Which one? The three or some of the three?
Urgent.
Urgent. So it was interesting,
Yes.
it was important,
Yes.
but not urgent.
That's correct.
All right? Do you know why she's saying this? It was not urgent? Or no?
Do
You
I
have no
know?
clue.
Do I know what she said?
Yeah, she
I
know.
don't know. I don't
You
know.
don't know.
No, I
For
don't.
you it was urgent.
Yes.
But for her it's not, but you don't know why. And the poor, maybe she doesn't realize how urgent it was. So the poor thing, you don't want to let her leave her like that, you know. So she's going to tell you. She's going to tell you why it was urgent, and then you listen and you see if, you know, if she has made a point or you want to show her why it was urgent. Please, say why it was not urgent.
It wasn't urgent because there was a process in place that was filling the other conditions of interest and importance
Finished, Norel?
that had their own urgency.
We good?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand what she's saying?
Not really.
No. There's not really
No,
what you don't do here.
no.
You don't understand
No.
her. Tell her I don't
I
understand you.
don't understand.
Okay. Now, test. Now, again, don't think too much of it. Look at the kind of questions. Today I'm going to show you the kind of questions I use, you know. And so really pay attention to the question. I know, because it's catching what we're doing, but I'm asking you, don't look too much at the content, try to look at the kind of questions, right? You know? And it's tough because it's at the same time something's going on. So, but try to look both. The first level and the meta level, okay? Try to do it, okay? So, you say you don't understand what she's saying, right?
No.
Okay, I use a little grid. Did you hear, with the kids I go, did you hear what she has said?
I did.
But did you understand
No.
what she said? You don't understand it. Now, do you think she speaks English well?
Yes.
Oh, so that's not an English problem. Second, did she use words that you don't know? Complicated words. What, did you hear at least one word she used? Oh my God, Norel, where do you get your vocabulary from? Do you get at least one? Yes or no?
Yes, I understood.
No, I'm asking, oh, you understood?
Me?
Wait a minute, did you understand her, yes or no?
I don't know whether I understood her.
Oh, isn't that interesting? 2 minutes ago you did not understand her. Now you don't know if you understood her or not. Did she speak a long time? Was it a long time ago? Was it hard English?
Yes.
Oh, she uses very hard English, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now listen, let me ask you. If I ask the group here if Norwell uses hard English or normal English, are they going to say she uses hard English or normal English?
I think they'll say she's using normal.
Oh, but you think differently.
Yes, I do.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Well, then they don't know that these people cannot recognize normal English. Right? Now, let me tell you what's happening. This happens all the time. Somebody's so caught up in his mind, he can't think anymore. And that's what I'm telling you to think. Just stop thinking. Does it make any sense that you tell her you don't understand her or not? Okay, can I say you see where your eyes are going right now when I speak to you? You know where they're looking at? You know where they're looking at? Who sees where her eyes are looking at? Up there. Yes. And by the way, I'm not into much into body language. It's not my specialty, but that means you're gone. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, contemplating. God help me or something. You know. You know, just be there, right?
Yeah.
Let me just show you something. Who think Norwell was not understandable? Raise your hand. 3 people. Who think she was clear? Raise your hand. Why you don't raise your hand in either case? You're trying. This is beautiful. Say that verb again. What are you doing? You are?
Trying to.
Stop. No, don't say more. See, don't try. Stop trying. That's the problem with good students. They always want to try. Just tell you know what the secret is? Be here. Stay here. Stick with us. Be here now. You play football? I can tell. I can tell you're not playing football. You would stop trying. You would be with the ball. Yeah? You know, I'm trying. You know? Yes, the universe is so wide. Do we really exist? Oh God, you know? Okay? You know? Thinking is hard because you've got to be right here. And look what's happened. Now, what am I doing? I'm just like underlying, obliging to see what's happening there. But what I'm artificially insisting to see is happening all the time. And that's what we don't discuss together. That's why we're not together when we don't think together, because we're gone. No? Who knows, sorry, your name? Gail. Who knows actually what was happening to Gail when Norel spoke? Why she seems to be in this total quagmire about Norel's speech? Who knows? Any idea? You're pedagogues. You see this with children. Who has an idea? Raise your hand, and Gail asks somebody raising their hand, what's going on with me?
What's going on with me?
So I think that you were already set in what you had said, and so then you weren't receptive or open. There was some sort of barrier that stopped you from accepting what Norel was saying.
Do you think she's right?
No?
No. You think she's wrong?
Yeah.
Tell her you're wrong.
You're wrong.
Who thinks she's wrong? Raise your hand. Who thinks she's right? Raise your hand. All right. Now, put your hand down. Are you surprised at the result? Or you expected it? All right. Now, let me tell you, Gail, now that we're old friends, does this happen to you? That you listen to somebody, but because you're against what this person is saying, when this person wants to criticize you, you're a little bit deaf to what they're saying. Does that happen to you or no? Yeah, of course, because you're a human being.
Yeah.
You see? And that's the whole point of this, one thing I'm trying to do here is say, shut your mind off to understand. Descartes, you know, Descartes, what did he call him here? He says, suspend your judgment. If you don't suspend your judgment, you can't hear, you can't think. You know, in a second moment, see, even follow Hegel. First identify, listen, understand. Second moment, then you criticize. But we don't know how to do this. Why? Because Gail is totally Gail. And to listen to Norel, she has to de-Gail her, un-Gail herself. Yeah, you know? You have to be not you. Not the one who we're talking about. Not the one who's being criticized. Just you have to Norel yourself. Totally, to understand. That speaks to you. But that's hard, right? To Norel yourself and un-Gail yourself. Yes, no?
Yes, very hard.
Yeah, very hard. And when you teach, you see this with children too. How, you know, and when you teach philosophy, that's one of the major obstacles. We're so caught up with ourselves that we have a hard time understanding what a philosopher is saying. Just because he's, probably when Nietzsche tells you that the victim is the collaborator of the killer. Oh my God, this is horrible. How can it, well, just go along, see what it's going to take you, see how this can have meaning, right? And that's a big obstacle. You know, big obstacle. Anyway, so I'm with you. All right, so anyway. So, do you know why Norel says it was not adjourned? What you have to say or no?
I still don't know
Okay.
why it's not.
Who understood Norel and wants to explain to her why it was not urgent? Raise your hand. Ask one of them, explain to me Norel's thesis.
Explain to me.
The interchange that was interrupted by a comment was more urgent than a comment.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Is she a good teacher?
Yes.
Tell you a good teacher.
Teacher.
Better than Norel, tell her.
Better than
Okay. And this is the problem. Now, so you got the point. Now, do you think, Chris, do you think Chris is right or no? Or she's wrong? That the process that was going on was more important than your particular comment. Do you think she was right or wrong?
Right.
All right, so you change your mind.
Yeah.
Was not urgent anymore.
Apparently not.
Did you take away those horrible adverbs? Was it urgent or no? Terrible, huh? Oh, what a torture you were. What was more important, the process going on or your particular comment?
Process.
All right, so she's right or wrong? So was it urgent or no, what you had to say?
Not urgent.
Can you do it without prolonging the no so long? No. You see, no, don't do it, but it's so funny. It's one thing I picked up here, I call it whistle concept, or whistle form. You use that a lot, right? Sort of, kind of, yeah, no, and all partially, and all these things not to commit to itself. Not how horrible it is to say, what I had to say was not urgent. It's a horrible thing to say, right? You want to try it? Say it.
It wasn't urgent.
What I had to say. Right? But of course, by the way, with kids it's much easier. Huh? We are adults. We have something more to defend. We have an identity. We're getting old. You have to prove we existed for something. Kids really they find that funny. You know. By the way, it's funny when I do a lot of things in schools. Kids say, "Hey, this Oscar, he's funny. He's crazy. You know, he's funny." And the teachers think less I'm funny. You know. So, I concluded I must have a childish sense of humor. So, but now, why? You know, somebody said, "Hey, why did you stop so long for this?" Why? For me, it's fundamental. Because you see, doing this work, it's not, it's never a singular issue. It's a collective issue. We all are. We are like our Gaylers or Gaylist hours. We all are. We all have this thing where we think, oh my God, I have something so important. The Holy Spirit just fell on me. You know, oh God, I've got to tell this, right? We all have this. Now the question is to learn, and that's what critical thinking is all about, is this. Was it urgent? Important this? And so in other words, just hold on just a little bit before, pass through the sifters, and then if it passes sifters, don't tell her. Say, wait a minute here. You know, this young man. Okay, my young man, let's do this again. You want to say something. Is it urgent?
Yeah.
Is it important?
Urgency, I'm not so sure. That's why.
Well, you better be sure. Is it urgent or not? You have to decide.
But yeah.
It is urgent.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is to me.
The three of them.
Yep.
All right? If people say no, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do it again. And by the way, in the classroom, I'll do this a lot. But what's going to happen? The first session, you'll do a lot of this. But I tell you, after 3 sessions, you hardly get anybody saying has something urgent to say. Or they'll do it with a very good reason. And that's all it is. I mean, if I go, I'm not going to, oh, I just had something to say like that. No more. That means you commit yourself. Wait a minute. I want to stop the whole process, like Chris said. You better have a good reason, you know? Like they has a, you know, towers have collapsed or something. You know?
Yeah, it is urgent.
Okay, physically, go ahead.
Why is it that you get someone to parrot you? Why do you say, you say to them that? Is it because, I think I know why, but I want to hear from you. Why is it that you get people to repeat what you have to say?
Wait a minute. This is so beautiful. Did you just say you thought you know why?
Yeah, I was
So
clarifying why.
tell me. If you know why are you bothering us with that question?
Because I want to know how you frame it in your mind and how you say it and how that's different from the way I say it.
So now you know why, but you want to know how, what. I would answer that, and you consider that urgent.
Yep.
Yep, I don't know. Yes?
Yes, I think that's it.
All right.
I want to know how you think.
Now, little fun thing. You're a young, endeavoring man. Let me ask you. I'm going to ask people here if they agree this was urgent or not. All right? What do you think they will answer?
What's urgent?
No, what your intervention? I'm going to ask them. All right? Don't look at them. I don't want them to influence your judgment. I'm going to ask them, okay, people, you think this was urgent or not? What do you think they will say? Yes or no?
Some yes, some no.
Thank you. You're Australian, right? Okay. Now, I'm asking you, do you think the majority will say yes or no?
I don't know.
You want to know?
Yeah.
Just figure it out. Just think it back. But from your standpoint, from the standpoint of universal reason, see?
Yeah, I think they won't think it's urgent.
Okay, what's going on? With a difficult thing here. See, I'm going to ask you, what's your name?
Dylan.
Dylan. You have to undylan yourself. Now you're a spirit in the sky. You no more Dylan. Spirit in the sky. Okay? Spirit in the sky is looking for all the way up, looking at this. Say, well, was this Dylan boy? Was it right to do this? Or was this Dylan boy not right to do that? Well, now this spirit in the sky will say, oh yes, it was urgent. The spirit in the sky will say, nah, it was not urgent. What will spirit in the sky say?
It's not urgent.
Not urgent. Is it possible that spirit in the sky is right?
Yes and no.
Spirits in the sky, generally, they know what they're talking about, so is it possible he was right?
Yes and no.
Now, you know, how long are you going to do this for? You know,
No,
Plato tells you the following, you might like or not like, which is the following. When we're children, we want everything at the same time. You know, children, they want all the gifts of Santa Claus. You know this? No, maybe you don't know children. No. You know this or no? No. Children in Australia, they only want one gift or they want all the gifts? What do they want?
Oh,
All of them. So they want everything, right? At the same time. But he said when you grow, you learn to choose. Okay? Yeah? Learn to choose. You like learning to choose?
yes and no?
Oh, thank you. All right. You see the problem? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yeah, I want all the gifts of Santa Claus, right? Yes.
And not.
Be careful. You know, don't worry, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I think we're playing it for now. Okay? So, you like to choose or no?
Yeah.
All right, well, show it then. Spirit in the sky. He says it's not urgent. Is he right or wrong?
He's right.
All right. Now, who's right in this business? Spirit in the sky or Dylan?
Yes or no? Do you mean? I mean to say, do you mean yes or no?
See, this is vanilla chocolate question.
Yeah.
See, this is so funny. You're so caught up in your thing that you don't even hear my question. How can I say vanilla or chocolate is a yes and no question? Even the form of the question, you don't see it anymore. Why? Because Dylan, like everybody, you're caught up so much in your internal thing that you don't even hear my question anymore. How can you answer yes or no to a vanilla chocolate question?
Well then, it is urgent because I still want to know.
No,
why-
Dylan, stick with me.
Yeah.
How can you answer yes or no to a vanilla chocolate
I
question?
can't answer yes or no.
Thank
So
you. So when you ask me, is it yes or no question, did you hear my question?
No.
No. And why do you think you didn't hear my question? You think it's complicated?
No.
No. Is it simple?
Yes.
Yes. Now, what's happening in your mind? Is it simple or complicated?
Complicated.
Thank you. You get the point?
Yeah.
Do you like simplicity?
Yeah.
Did you show it?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Do you like this little moment?
Yes.
So, was it, who's right? Dylan, no, but don't worry. We're together. We're in the boat. You don't have to raise your hand. Can I row? No, you're together. So, who's right? Dylan or Spirit in the sky?
Me.
Okay, Dylan. So tell him, hey, Spirit in the sky, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
Now,
You're in the sky.
you know, do you see what you have done now? Plato says to think is to enter in a dialogue with yourself. And that's what I just invite you to do. Dylan on one side, singular, subjective thinking. And on the other side, Spirit in the sky, universal abstract. And what is beautiful, we have seen how Dylan thinks. When Dylan is confronted to universal reason and himself, who does he choose?
Me.
Are you surprised at that?
No.
No. Universal reason for you, it comes before Dylan or after Dylan?
Sorry, say again.
Universal reason comes before Dylan or after Dylan in your hierarchy?
After.
After. So the thinking axiology of Dylan is first Dylan, then universal reason. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Who's right? Between logic and Dylan, who's right?
Me.
Exactly. All right? You surprised at this or no?
No.
You knew it before?
Yeah.
Oh, you should have told us, okay? But,
I thought you
okay,
knew.
so, but the last thing to show you, this is very interesting. So when Dylan thinks something is urgent, you think it's urgent for himself or for universal reason?
Me.
For you. But when I ask you if it's urgent, I'm asking you if it's urgent for you or for the group? Me as
Ask again.
me as an animator, we say in French. I don't want facilitator because I'm making things hard. So as an animator, we say French animator. Am I asking you if it's urgent for you or for the group? What do you think?
Well, I chose to make it about me.
Listen. Vanilla or chocolate, okay?
Me.
Okay?
The answer's me.
So I'm asking you if it's urgent for you.
Yes.
Yes, and not for the group.
Yes.
Groups come second.
It did, yeah. It does, I suppose.
All right, that's interesting. Now, if I ask people if that's what I mean, if it's urgent for you in the group, are they going to agree with you or disagree with you?
I don't know.
What, do you want to know?
Well, I want to know.
Do you want to know?
What's the question again?
Like that?
I want an answer to my question. I don't care about
You
the
see,
group.
do you see the problem?
Yeah.
The Chinese would tell you, the wise man has no desire.
Yeah.
As long as you stop, I want an answer, I want an answer, I want an answer, you're not there, you're gone.
Yeah.
See? And you have to go to, for one moment, leave your desire. And that's, by the way, the whole problem of being Dylan-esque instead of universal reason. Universal reason has no desire. But Dylan is full of desire. You know, he's to the toilet, he's hungry, he's in love, he's all, you know, why not? Biological being. But for a moment, to un-Dylan yourself. You okay with that, or that's too hard?
Yeah, okay.
You like that?
Yeah.
Well, based on what we've seen, do you like it or no?
Yes.
Yes? If I ask people if they've seen you like it, they'll say yes or no?
I'll say no.
All right. Is it possible to write?
Yeah.
Yes. And who thinks more right? People say you don't like it, or you saying, yeah, I like it.
I do like it. It's
No, I'm not asking
like
if you do like it. See, I'm asking you all the time, go back. You know, universal, singular, universal. By the way, dialectics is a lot about that. Moving positions. Universal, singular. Circumstantial, absolute. You know, all the time. Move back. Outside, inside. Thinking is this motion, changing of position. I am me, I am not me. You know, I'm singular, I'm universal. I'm inside, I'm outside. I'm circumstantial, I'm not circumstantial. I'm essential, I'm accidental. I'm subjective, objective. Finite, infinite. All the great, in philosophy, you know, there are a lot of fundamental antinomies. Subjective, objective, finite, infinite, all this. And this is, by the way, in the discussion. When I run discussion, I try to get these antinomies to appear in some form. Anyway, so, did you like our little dialogue or not?
Yeah.
What did you get from it?
Well, not an answer to my question.
Is that your main preoccupation?
It is. It has become that.
Okay, well, that tells you something. My job...
That's a goal for me now, is to
Yeah,
get an
I
answer
know.
to my question.
But my job as a philosopher, see, I'm not a pizzaiolo. You know this? Pizzaiolo? See this? The one guy making pizza? See, the difference between a philosopher and a pizzaiolo. You call it pizzaiolo here?
A gopher.
Huh?
Go for. A gopher.
The one making the pizza. What do you call him? The guy making the pizza, the cook. Okay. The difference between the cook and the philosopher, I'll tell you, it's very simple. When you go to the restaurant, you ask for Siciliano pizza. You want a Siciliano pizza, and you get a Siciliano pizza. If you don't get it, you say, give me it, or I don't pay, right? Good? A philosopher, his job is when you ask for pizza Siciliana, his job is to give you sushi. Do you like that?
No.
No, thank you. Now we got to the point. You see? Frustrating demand. Right? That's the point. Right? Now, that's to take home this one. As I said, McDonald's. Right? Take away. Take it back. And we'll come back to it. Why frustration is an important aspect. But let me just, as an attempt, do you think frustration has something to do with growing up? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Just take that for now. Okay? So anyway, so you have to deal with singular, but Dylan is not Dylan. We're all Dylan-esque. We all have this, right? And let's go back to the business. Outcome practical. Dr. Ho said, no, Peter. Peter, he first accepted Peter's synthesis. But then Theo moved in and said, wait a minute. There's an important account that was overlooked here. Practical. But then Peter said, and Dr. Ho agrees, well, wait a minute, so he changed his mind. And Peter said, yeah, oh yeah, that's right, Peter forgot. But Peter said, wait a minute. Practical is there. Not in its form, but it's contained in outcome. Right? So now I'm going to ask you just to see where you are, all of you, to make a judgment. If you think Peter is right, let's say practical was not necessary, outcome does it, or you think no, practical was necessary here to synthesize Dr. Ho's speech. So, who agrees with Peter that outcome contains practical? Raise your hand. Peter, count the hands.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who thinks not? Raise your hand. Count the hands.
1, 2, 8.
8. And how many people is in the room?
No.
Now, how many people are missing?
20, that 6 or so?
All right. Can those people raise their hand? This is called when the paralytic move. You know, this is okay. 3. Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. We actually got 3. Ask one of them. Why you didn't raise your hand?
Why didn't you raise your hand?
Not, okay.
Sorry, I can't see.
I don't see any difference between the two.
Between the two what?
Yeah, outcome and practical.
Well, look at it this way. If you don't see any difference between outcome and practical, therefore, do you think practical is contained in outcome?
Yes.
All right. So you should. In which case should you raise your hand? The ones that agree with Peter or the ones that disagree with him? Remember?
Yes.
Which one? The vanilla or chocolate? You can say yes. We believe with Peter. Okay. Now, is your problem solved?
No, we didn't
No. Wait.
agree with the synthesis. Why?
Yes, but you see, this is very interesting. I did not agree with the synthesis a while back. This is a very nice one because it's a regular one. Okay, what's your name?
Beverly.
Beverly. Who identified Beverly's, because Beverly didn't vote because she didn't agree with the synthesis a while back. Who has something to tell Beverly to help her in this situation? So that's a very, I love the class, I call it the classics, the classic. Who can tell her something? Raise your hand. Yeah, but you're not supposed to speak while you raise. Are you raising your hand or no? You look at. Oh, you raise your hand. Anybody else? 2 people raise a hand. Okay, ask one of them. What's my problem?
What's my problem? It was with Rosetta, and it was the question was nothing to do with the synthesis earlier on. It was whether or not the direct question was whether or not practical was contained in outcome.
So what are you suggesting to her? Next time.
That's what you should have considered, the specific question at the time.
So what's her general problem, you think? If you take it over for the particular
You're
case.
still caught back in the past.
All right. Are you still caught back in the past?
No, but I feel like...
No, are you? Listen. She's accusing you of being caught back in the past. Are you caught back in the past? Just yes or no. Terrible. I know. Terrible. Terrible. This Oscar is terrible. I show my plane ticket. It's 2 more at 3 o'clock. Yes. Okay. So now you answer. Oh, okay, I feel better. He's going. Oh, yeah. Yes. What do you call a person caught back in the past? What's the word in English to qualify somebody caught back in the past? You have a word for it? I can hear you.
I can't think of one.
You want one? Okay. By the way, just for the fun, it's called categories. Categories is to, and categories in Greek comes from categori. And you know what category means in Greek? It's a funny accusation. Yeah? Categories are accusation. It's nice. That's when people, oh, I don't want a category. I don't want to be put in the category. Of course, you're being accused. You're a teacher. Oh no, I'm a human being. There we want a category. Somebody's caught back in the past. Who knows a word in English to qualify that? Raise your hand. It's called conceptualization. Who knows a word for someone caught back in the past? Raise your hand. If you have, raise your hand. Don't cheat. Raise your hand. Don't go like, raise your hand. Okay? Kids do that a lot, So 2 people, two, no more. Last chance. 2 words. Okay. What is your word?
Stuck.
Huh?
Stuck.
Stuck. Yeah? What's your word?
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Are you stuck or nostalgic? Which one? You choose.
Neither.
Neither. Wait a minute. Do you have a better word to propose? But now you see I'm going to do something horrible. Sometimes I feel so guilty. You see, the point is like it's a scientific procedure. I tell you what it is. There's a problem. So we as a scientist, who has a hypothesis for it? Yeah? So Mr. A said, Dr. A says this, Dr. B says this. Dr. C has no clue. So we'll ask Dr. C, well, listen, just for the hell of it, for the sake of it, we're going to say which one looks like the best hypothesis. Or you find a strange animal. Oh, this has no name, So how are we going to call it? So Dr. A says, I call it, I call it Z. Dr. B said, I call it Y. And Dr. C has no clue. Say, well, Dr. C, you choose for now. What do you want to call it? Z or Y? And then maybe later we'll see. But for now, what do you want to call it? But then, oh no, I don't want to call it anything. Do you like labels or no? Do you like labels? You like them? Well, then pick one. Stuck or nostalgic? Somebody who's caught in the past, he's stuck as nostalgic. You want a coin?
Inappropriate.
No. Do you have a better one? You can have a better one, but you cannot refuse their work if you have nothing to propose. You got it. That's so funny. We do this all the time, And by the way, if I can tell you, there's a little very interesting syndrome there. It's the quest for the absolute, the ultimate world, the perfect world. The thing that, oh, I can say this, nobody will have anything to say, right? Haunting the teachers. After all these exams they had all their life, I could have the perfect answer. I'm a teacher now, and nobody can criticize me. No. I tell you, you can use a coin for this one. Just take whichever one. The one which is, the less words in this horrible finite world we live in. So, stuck or nostalgic?
problem with outcome practical?
Are you again stuck in the past? Thank you! Thank you! This is called demonstration by action, you know? Okay, did you again reiterate the same thing? You say reiterate?
Yes.
Did you reiterate again the same thing? You want to go back in the past.
Yes.
So you're stuck on nostalgia. Just choose, it's just a word.
Stuck.
Alright, you're stuck. You know, sticks and stone will break your bones. You see people have words, what's the words? You don't know, okay? You're stuck. And if you teach,
Yeah.
and you see some kids sometimes, they seem to be stuck. Yes, no?
Yes.
Well, who has taught them to be stuck? Who has taught them to be stuck? We do. They are our children. We teach them, we raise them. They are our image. But what I'm trying to show you, that's where I lose many friends, you know? We do this. We teach them to be stuck. You know, instead of moving on. Thinking is a fluid. Thinking is motion. Thinking is dialectic. For some reason, we become obsessive. Oh yeah, but you know, old couple stuff. Yeah, but 5 years ago you told me. Well, let's move on, you know?
But I don't tell students to be stuck.
You don't tell them. No, you show them. Of course you don't tell them. I wish you would tell them. At least they would be identified. But you don't tell them. That's a big lie. You show it to them. And that's exactly what we do. Yeah, of course. I've never seen any teacher says don't think. I've never seen that. But I've seen many that behave so they don't think. Have you ever seen teachers say don't think to your student? Have you seen them do it? Say it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. In Australia, teachers say don't think to their student. They say that.
Only if they think there's one answer.
Do they tell them not to think? In general, do you see teachers saying don't think to their student? Do you see them do this or no?
If there's one
No,
answer.
not if. See, I'm asking. See, I'll tell you.
Some subjects.
If, this is difficult. You see, the art of question. You know, is an apple a fruit? You cannot introduce a conditional there. You know why you cannot introduce a conditional? Because is blah, 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 blah means you have to go to the essence. When there's an if, let's see. What does it imply when there's an if? What if, what is it calling for? You can say. If I have an if question, what am I calling for?
Speculation.
Just raise your hand. We want to know. Between 3 people, 3, 4, 4. Oh, a bit more. Okay, we didn't speak yet. Let's see. And if calls for what?
Speculation.
Speculation. For what?
Choice.
Choice. Yes, for what?
Speculation.
No, wait, have you heard somebody say it already or no?
Oh, sorry, or possibility.
Have you heard somebody say it or no?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Well, why do you repeat them?
I thought you pointed at.
All right. With the kids, I say, do you like parents? I won't do it. Okay. Any other? Okay. Yeah?
Then.
Huh?
Then.
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 If then.
Then.
Oh, if then. No, but I want a concept. I want a concept. Okay. If goes to a condition. If is conditional, right? If is a condition. This is very important. I have clear in the head. You know? When I'm asking, is an apple a fruit? I don't want any condition. I'm asking for the essence of it. If implies there's a choice, imply this. There's implied there's a condition, right? That's what when you ask, is something something? You never want an if. But then you're cheating. You see, you change, and that's why certain questions are powerful. But we have to be careful. We have to listen if the answer answers the question. Because see, if somebody uses an if, that means he's not clear what the question means. Is something is the essence. If is not essence. I mean, there's external, there's conditioning. It's not essence anymore. Yeah? Yeah? For example, can't distinguish the categorical imperative and a hypothetical imperative. Categorical, it has to be like this. Yes? You should not steal because they're blah, blah, blah. Hypothetical imperative. Either you this or you that. Right? Either moral is determined by feelings or by reason. You know? So there's a condition. And the first one, categorical, no condition. So when you ask what something is, you cannot start with an if. There's no condition. Imagine a dictionary, you know, says with a series of if, you know, right? So it has to give what is the essential aspect. All right? No? Do you like that? Yes. And indeed, now we're all friends. Let me ask you, does that happen to you sometime that you're caught in the past or never? You think about the past like this?
No.
Never. It's only today. Yeah, only today. What's so special today that you do today?
We didn't agree with this.
What?
I thought you didn't agree with this. It's the only reason.
Yeah.
Nothing about.
Do you realize, did I talk about Peter in my question?
No.
No.
Didn't
So, but do you realize that I'm speaking about what's happening in your mind, and who do you want to talk about? Who, did you see who you're talking about? Now, do kids do this? Did you do this? Oh, but the others.
Yeah.
Do they do this? Did they do this or no? You say, did you do this? And they point the finger over there. The others. Do they do this or no?
Sometimes.
Yeah, so if they, sometimes do they do it? Yes, no?
Yes.
And again, who teaches them to do this? I'm asking you how you think like that. You go, well, that's Peter. Right? Yeah? You know? Anyway, so that's it. Okay. But be here. Now, and by the way, you have two kinds of problems. You have the nostalgic syndrome. The people, they're in the back. They, oh yeah, but back then. Then you have the others. They're in a rush. Yeah, but where are we going to go? You're the futurist, you know? They're always, yeah, but where's this going to take us? You know? Where's it going to take us, right? You have two kind of, and I say, like I told you, let's look at the pathologies. And there's two classical pathologies of thinking. You know, the nostalgic and the futurist. You know, the one that regret and the one that are anxious about the future. And you'll see, as you ask a question and you see problems, you'll pick up, you know, this kind of thing. You will start recognize it, but you don't need to recognize it. You want the kids to recognize it. That's why I say, who can call this? Who knows? And I say, I ask the people to identify mutually. Call that mutual teaching. Who has identified what she has done? So she said, okay, I see this problem there. This kind of. No, maybe it was not the case there. Maybe not. Who cares? But anyway, it's a general problem. So if it's not true there, it's true another time. You know. But you'll see, and you'll be amazed how much kids can identify each other's problem. It's very surprising. They're smart. If you ask them to do it, but first they say, well, you know, it's my friend sort of thing, and they want. But you're okay. Did you like when she did this? Or no?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, tell her, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
For saying I'm nostalgic.
Silence.
Okay, big deal, you know? Okay, all right. Yeah. Calling each other's names, that's fun though. Calling each other's names. It's fun? Yes? Do you teach it to the kids to call each other names or no? No, oh, I see, it's fun. Kids like it, by the way. It's fun. All right? So, aesthetic, because that's thinking. Calling each other's names is thinking. It's categories, accusations. Yeah? Fun? Yeah? Okay, so, anyway. Is it a problem in Singapore to do this, by the way? Call each other names like this? Or culturally is a problem? Say, oh, you're nostalgic. Is that a problem culturally, or you don't think it's okay?
Culturally is a problem.
It's a problem, yeah? Do you think this can be done, or that's going to be a lot of resistance?
I think it's a bit of warming up.
Because in China, by the way, I worked in China, I had a big problem with the yes and no thing, I was doing the exercise in Shanghai, and nobody was saying yes and no. I was pulling my hair out. And I asked the professor who invited me, I said, what's going on here? I always see my poor friend, he said, tapping me on the shoulder, right before you. You have to know, in China here, it's bad words to say yes and no. You're not supposed to be frontal like this, So the next workshop, I say, okay, today we're working with bad words. Yes and no. So they laughed, and then they did it. But I first had to decode what the cultural obstacle was, And depending on the country you have. Now, I'll give you an example because where I come from, I come from, I was from Algeria, I'm from this Mediterranean culture. We call each other names very easy. Hey, you asshole, big deal. It's not a problem, it's even friendly, Hey, you asshole, what are you doing? You're so stupid today. It's part of the culture, but of course if I go to an English-speaking country, oh my God, what do you call me? So it's terrible, but so of course, I'm not surprised that Greece, produced this idea of categorizing accusation as categories and accusation, because it fits. It's normal in Mediterranean culture, we call each other's names. It's not a problem, even hard names. Sometimes it's insulting, it's not always pleasant, but it's sort of the culture, There's not this idea of, again, I use respect, Like that's what he's totally respectless, and so we laugh. In fact, when you love someone, you laugh at him. We laugh. We make jokes. In fact, that's, by the way, if you're interested, that's a typical seduction strategy. Now there is you make jokes. And he's a good joker. Oh, he's very charming and sort of thing. Okay. But of course, that's different culture. And in Norway, it's very strange. You know, it's like another. Tell you to show you. I'll tell you the Norwegian joke. Three people go to a bar. Sit down for a drink. And one somebody goes skål. Skål. What's this? Half hour later, he's getting skål. Drink. 1 hour later, he does it the third time. Skål. So his buddy said, "Hey, wait a minute. Did you come here to drink or to talk?" Of course, it's a different culture. Calling names is terrible. It's already very cold. So anyway, but names, that's called to conceptualize. And of course, if you just see, see that it's just not any kind of names, but nostalgia. Nostalgia is a very important way of identifying the given thinking knowledge. Why are we stuck? And we all have this, right? Sometimes when you listen to a conference, something caught your mind, and you go blank. We all do this. We go blank for a half hour. Did you ever do this? You stuck an idea, now it hits you, and then you go blank. And then you go, I don't understand what you're saying. It's not you don't understand. You did not listen. That's what I said earlier. Did she speak complicated English? No, it was a different thing. It was caught in the back. It was, I don't agree. I don't agree is another form of not listening, of not thinking. So then you identify it. Now this would be slow at first, but see, these